Welcome to LabMinutes.com in the lab video series on Prime Infrastructure 3.1. You can find a complete list of Prime videos on our website by clicking the link above and sign up for our newsletters to receive the latest video updates. In our last video, we looked at using Prime to configure individual network devices. We saw that it was a little bit cumbersome and lacked many features, especially on routers and switches. So if you didn't get excited then, that's okay. Hopefully you will in this video as we get more sophisticated by using configuration templates. We will go through different types of templates and a couple of configuration scenarios using those templates. And towards the end of the video, we will configure our WAN routers with the DMVPN features using the configuration templates. For our lab setup, we have a headquarters site on the left and two of the branch sites on the right. At the headquarters, we have a server VLAN, VLAN 32. With the subnet 172.16.32.0/24. On that VLAN, we have our Windows 2012 domain controller at the IP of .40, a Cisco ISE authentication server at the IP of .102, a wireless LAN controller at the IP of .104, and our Cisco Prime 3.1 at the IP of .106. Then we have a core switch, a WAN router, and some wireless access points. At the remote site branch number 1, we have a router and a switch, and then for remote site number 2, on branch number 2, we have just a single router. Right? In between, they're all connected via a simulated WAN. Once again, all these devices has already been added to Prime and are fully managed, so they're ready for us to use Prime to configure them. Alright, so let's get right into the topic of configuration template. Primes by default comes with many different types of templates for you to use, so let's go through them one by one. Let me bring up web interface to Prime. I have a couple windows open from the last videos. Let me close that one out. So for the last video, we've been using individual device web interface to configure our network device. Now we are going to be dealing with configuration templates. You access the configuration templates and features and technologies. So the first type of template we are going to look at is called features and technologies. These templates primarily focus on particular features or technology as their name suggests. Keep in mind that these are just a small subset of features as Prime does not support every features on all the device types. Some of the features and technologies that are currently supported includes AVC or Application Visibility and Control. We are going to have a dedicated video on AVC, so we might come back to utilize these templates and see what it looks like. Then we have templates for wireless LAN controller, and these are templates we will look at in a future video as well. Then you have the interface templates. Primarily, it's only for cellular interface. As you can see, the cellular profile and GSM profile. Then we have network analysis module or NAM, and it provides you with a templates for basic NAM configuration. Now, if you guys are not familiar with NAM, we actually have a separate video series for that as well. Then there's a section or templates for securities. And underneath, it's a little bit more elaborate in terms of features is available. We got TrustSec, which provides you with an interface 802.1x config that will go on the switches. Now you can see if you're familiar with the TrustSec or .1x authentication, there's different security mode, monitor, low impact, closed. Then authentication profile, .1x or map, or both. And there's a section for MACsec, and then MAC notification. Right, then there's a section for VPN components. This is very similar to what we saw under the router configuration in the last videos. Most of them are still IKV1 only, and not IKV2. Right, then you got a zone-based firewall, and then policy rules, which allows you to configure your zone-based firewall policy in a form of policy rules or tables, and they will get converted to class map policy maps, and we're actually going to have a dedicated video for this. I believe it's the next video. Right, then you got the ACL configuration, DMVPN, which we'll take a look in a second, and then a couple of easy VPN for the remote device or servers, and then get VPN, right, get VPN group members and key servers. And finally, ScanSafe, which is a URL filtering technology using ScanSafe, also known as a Cloud Web Services or CWS. Right, and then the last technology we have available here is WAN optimization that will allow you to configure AppNav cluster. Right, for the most part, we've been clicking through a few options here. As you can see, they're pretty much GUI driven with parameters that need to be populated. For example, what we're seeing right here for scan save, you need to fill in the form with different parameters or settings. During the configuration, you can't really see what the corresponding CLI actually looks like until you're ready to push out the config. And when you deploy them, Prime actually will give you a quick review of the corresponding CLI. So that is for Features and Technologies template. The next type of template that we have is called a CLI template. And again, as the name suggests, these templates are built from a raw CLI. Right? So you would use CLI template if you want extra flexibilities and control on the exact command that will go on the devices, or if what you need to configure are not available under the Features and Technologies templates. So this is basically what you guys are used to in terms of the CLI commands. You just basically package it up in a form of templates, as you see in a second when we go through the scenarios exactly how it's actually utilized. And there's a little bit of scripting that you can also do as well as part of the template. And that script is built upon an Apache Velocity Template Language, or VTL syntax. And if you're not familiar with the syntax, you can just Google it using the word VTL. Right, so as you can see here under the system templates, which are some of the default CLI templates that comes with Prime. By default, there's 86 of them. And there's just too many for us to go through one by one. But let's pick a couple of these out, like 802.1 Exchange of Authorization. And these templates are used to configure support for a COA for Radius server. As you can see, the command that the template uses is AAA server Radius dynamic author. And this template is fairly straightforward with actual flat config with some variables that represents IP addresses of the Radius servers and Radius keys. Actually, there's some ports and auth type there as well. What these are called are variables, which is basically a placeholders of the actual values that you will need to populate during the template deployment. And you can switch from the CLI content to a form view where you can actually see each of the available variables. All right, then you have an option to even add variables, but if you click add variables, these are 4 of the variables that are available. Actually, there are 5 of them. Looks like the last one might be extraness there, but so yeah. So IP address, auth type, server key, and port. So each of the variables will be replaced by its extra value during the deployment. Pretty straightforward there. And we will look into more how to add and configure variables in a little bit when we go through our scenarios.